Okay, so we are going to turn to page 17 in your statistics packet. We are going to take some notes on the measures of central tendency, the mean, median, and mode, and dispersion, the range, and the standard deviation. So we're going to start with the mean. The mean is your average. Okay, so I wrote down two examples at the top of the page. I have example 1 and example 2. So we're going to find the example of both of these right now. So to find the average, we are going to add up the values and we divide by how many numbers are in the set. So if we're looking at example number 1, if we take the numbers 5 plus 7 plus 10 plus 15 plus 18, we get a total of 55. And if we count up these numbers, there's a total of 5 numbers in the set, so we're going to divide by 5. We put this in our calculator, we get 11. This stands for your average of the first example. If we take our second example, you're going to add these numbers up and you're going to divide it by how many there is. So take a minute and figure it out. So when you add these numbers up, you should have got a total of 111. And if you look, there was 6 numbers in the set, so we're going to divide by 6. So your mean here was 18.5. So this is what you should have for your mean. Let's take a look at the second one. The second one is the median. The median is the middle value. We use the abbreviation MED because tomorrow you're going to be using your calculator, and when you look in the calculator, the median stands for MED. So if you think about the median is the middle of the road, right? So you're going to look at your values. We're going to look at example 1, and we're going to look for the middle number. So if we look for the middle number and we look, there's 5 values. So if we take them and we cross them off one by one, each way, the middle number for the first example would be 10. For example 2, this one's going to be a little different because now there's 6 numbers. So if we cross off 1, we take them away on each end. 2, 2. Well, if we take away 3, 3, we're left with nothing, and then there would be no middle number. So when you're stuck with 2 in the middle, you're going to add them and divide by 2. So if you add 12 plus 14, you get 26 divided by 2, and your middle number is 13. Okay, number 3, the mode. The mode is the value that appears the most number of times. I'll give you a few seconds to copy this down. The way I like to remember the word mode, I see the word most in it. So it's the number that appears the most. If we look at our example above, in example number 1, if we look at it, we've got 5, 7, 10, 15, 18. There's no number that appears more than 1, so there is no mode. In example number 2, if we look, we have 8, 8, 12, 14, 19, 50. So if we look, the 8 repeats itself, so that means we have a mode of 8. Okay, the fourth one we have is the range. The range is the difference between the largest and the smallest value. So I'll give you a few minutes to copy this one down. So for this one, we think about the maximum number minus the minimum number. So in example number 1, the biggest number is 18 and the smallest number is 5. So our range is 13. In our second example, our biggest number is 50 and our smallest number is 8. So we subtract them and we have a range of 42. So I'm going to skip the standard deviation number 5 for a second, and I'm going to talk about the outlier. The reason for this, the standard deviation, we're not going to calculate this with these examples. Tomorrow you're going to learn how to use the calculator, and that's going to be the only way that you're going to do the standard deviation. So the outlier, this definition is a data point far outside most of the rest of the points. So I'll give you a second to copy down the definition of outlier. So for example number 1, we have the numbers 5, 7, 10, 15, 18. These set of points, there's not one number there that's either far below all the numbers or far above. So the first one does not have an outlier. So we're going to write none. The second one, if we look at the examples, we have 8, 8, 12, 14, 19, and then we have 50. So we have all low numbers, and then we have one big number. So the outlier here is going to be 50. Note, this outlier can result in a mean that does not represent the true average of the data. So when there's an outlier part of your set, sometimes your mean will not be the true average. So the standard deviation, number 5, is the last vocab word we have to go over. This is the measure of how spread out the data numbers are from the mean. And the symbol we use here is the sigma with an X. And that's what we're going to look for in the calculator tomorrow when we calculate the standard deviation. Right? So what you need to know about the standard deviation, you need to know that the smaller the standard deviation is, the less spread out the data is. Right? The larger the standard deviation is, the more spread out the data is. So I'll give you a few minutes to copy this down. So tomorrow when you come in, we're going to do a little activity and we're going to calculate the mean, median, mode, range, standard deviation, and determine if there's any outliers. We're also going to teach you how to use your calculators, so please make sure you have your calculators in class tomorrow.